Good morning from Little Atlin Lake. We made the drive out of Whitehorse yesterday, posted up just by the lake last night. But we're gonna attempt a little more fishing today because we gotta catch a fish. And there is some monster pike in this lake from what I understand. So all the mist is burning off of the mountains now that the sun is coming up over the mountains. And it's so quiet. I almost feel bad talking to you guys right now because I feel so loud. I'm gonna throw a wire leader on the end of my line because pike have really sharp teeth. So even though I have good braided line, they'll just chew right through that if they start wiggling around a lot. So got about a foot here, and then this steel wire, they can't bite through that. Guy at Canadian Tire the other day, didn't even work there, but he must have sensed my confusion when looking at the entire rack of different lures and whatnot. And after a while, he looked at me and said, "Yellow, black diamonds," and was like absolutely certain about it. So I didn't even question him. I just got the yellow with black diamonds and single barbless hooks only everywhere in the Yukon. So that's what we got on there. Ends up being better for the fish. You don't end up ripping their lips off. Yellow, black diamonds. See what you got. I was too excited to get out here this morning, so I didn't even have a proper breakfast, so I threw in the bread and some PB&J, so we'll eat on the go today. It's a little later in the morning, but the water is still just like glass. Perfect paddling conditions for the canoe. It's called Little Atlin Lake, but don't let that fool you. There's nothing little about it. It's just a lot smaller than Atlin Lake, which is further down the road, which is the direction we're going to be heading either later this afternoon or tomorrow morning, because Atlin, British Columbia is at the very end of this road, and there's just tons of mining history. That's essentially why this road is even here in the first place. True pioneers settled there and are still there. It's a very small town, but very close-knit, nice community. And yeah, I can't wait to go back and check out the town, but it's really the areas around the town that are most exciting. We have a very curious loon that keeps popping up in front of the boat or behind the boat, but it's getting very close here. Oh my goodness, it just came up again. I can see it. I can see it swimming right beside the boat right now. That's the third or fourth time it's done that. Well, no one will believe me, but we had one on. He was on for probably like 20 seconds, and then I fumbled with the camera. And he dove and he was able to spit it out, but it's a nice sized pike. For me at least. But I've been paddling in this more shallow section with the weeds, and I figured it was just too shallow, but I would be almost over top and I could see the bottom, and I was almost over top of them, but I would see them dart out like the boat didn't even bother them. So I saw that twice. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try and cast. And then first cast, and I had one. I freaking had one. They're just like playing with it. Come on. You got it. Oh. Oh my God. I don't have a net. All right, good news. We caught a fish and we found a pretty awesome little honey hole that I'm gonna go back to later tonight. But I came back to camp because the camera must have got a little warm and decided to take a dunk. Camera and lens are fine, which I had a good feeling they would be because they are weather sealed. I've had too many camera mishaps in my life where, yeah, when I got the gear, it needed to be resilient. So that's fine, but the microphone is not. So I'm using my old one right now. But yes, we caught a fish. Caught a nice sized pike, still fairly small for a pike, but exhilarating nonetheless. So I'm gonna get back out there later this evening. It's getting pretty warm, but I'm back at camp and I've got a pretty awesome little spot that I can make an office today. And at the time of recording, I'm still working on the Yukon River trip, which is a massive project. So I think there's like over a terabyte of footage that I'm going through. So yeah, as much as I'd like to be out there fishing on the water, I'm gonna get a little bit of this done and get back out there in a little bit. Round two, baby, and it begins. First cast and I had one on. He spit himself off before I could get a shot, but off to a good start. Ooh. He's pulling the boat around. Not bad. Even still for a pike, that's fairly small. They get massive, apparently in this lake too. So for those that aren't entirely sure what single barbless means, instead of those 3-prong treble hooks, it's just one single hook and there's not a lip on the bottom there. So there's no barb. So it usually can just spit the lure right out of its mouth once it gets close to the boat. Oh man, so fun. Honestly, the fishing's a bonus. When you can get out on one of these mountain lakes and it's calm like this all day long, doesn't happen that often, so you gotta capitalize. You fishing? All right, good night. Here we go. Just like that. Spits it out, and the fish is all good. So I just looked at the GoPro footage from the fish that I just caught, and did you notice the one 3 times the size of the one that I caught just swimming right beside it? Was just about to pull my lure out of the water and it just came right to the top and hammered it. Little peanut. Well, I'm feeling pretty content. The no fish streak is over, my friends. And we got a pretty sweet sunset here to finish off the day. Well, seeing as I have a surplus of eggs, I didn't have a real breakfast this morning. We kind of just threw together some PB&J sandwiches when we went in the boat. So even though it's almost 10 o'clock, we might as well make some breakfast. Because it's never too late to make breakfast. Do the dishes. I think tomorrow morning we're going to try and carry on at a decent time and make our way a little bit closer towards Atlin. The road has only just begun, but there's still plenty of stuff to see and do along the way, and we're really looking forward to it. So, see you guys in the morning. We'll carry on towards Atlin. You know I'm a sucker for an old cabin, and there's one that just so happened to catch my eye on the side of the road here. Check this out. It's not very tall. Come on in, bud. We're gonna take a little stroll around here, but last year we saw a pretty good-sized grizzly bear right on the side of the road. So if you hear the jingling, we're not doing Christmas carols. It's just so Diesel can be known in the area. Get off my porch! Not entirely sure the history or why this is still here, but it's still worth a stop. Man, ravioli was a hot commodity back in the day. Someone got into her real good here. Eat 9 cans of ravioli and then shoot the cans. You know, I'm glad we went out as much as we did yesterday to go fishing, because it was the perfect day to do it. Because today you can feel it. As soon as I woke up this morning, that wind, you could see that chop coming on the lake. And I had the drone up earlier and was getting the strong wind warning right away. So there's probably going to be some good sized waves on that lake today. We have made it to Atlin, my friends, and it is just as good as I remember. And I've suddenly been hit with the urge to dive into what sort of hobbies I want to invest in the future, as Atlin Provincial Park is on the other side of Atlin Lake, which is a massive lake, and you can kayak or canoe over there. However, with all of these mountain lakes, they get windy very fast, and it's early in the morning and it's already too windy. It's a pretty sizable white caps in the middle that I'm seeing, and it's giant. So yeah, it might look like we need to invest in some sort of watercraft with a motor in the future. But you know what? We're going to enjoy it nonetheless, and we're waiting for the coffee shop to open because we're going to get ourselves some coffee, of course, and some breakfast, and then we're going to go exploring. You want to go for a walk, buddy? Yeah, you heard that word, walk? Yeah. All right. Want to go explore? Yeah. All right, buddy. Come on, bud. There we go. Tucked away in the far northwest corner of British Columbia lies the little town of Atlin, a place born out of gold fever in the late 1800s when prospectors struck it rich along Pine Creek. At its peak, thousands of people poured in, building what became known as the Switzerland of the North. There's no way to know for sure how many people came and went, but the town, which now has a population of around 500, once had close to 10,000 residents during its heyday. What are you doing? Come here. Come here, buddy. So this cabin was turned into a morgue. Now it's just full of old junk, I guess. I see a set of stairs over there, but I don't really want to test their integrity. It's an interesting looking telephone. Now there's plenty of old machinery and history right there in town at the museum. However, there is a few things along these trails just outside of town that you can't quite haul into town to display at a museum, so we're gonna go look for them. And I think I see one of the first. So back in the late 1800s, during the peak gold fever during the Klondike Gold Rush, of course a lot of people were setting their sights to the north in Dawson City, but gold had been discovered just outside of Atlin, British Columbia, right here along Pine Creek. And so when word got out, a lot of the people essentially diverted their plans of going north up to the goldfields in Dawson City and diverted their way to the east here in Atlin, which essentially saved them a huge trip to the north. I mean, instead of making their way up the Chilkoot Pass, which was incredibly dangerous, and then building a boat and going up the windy Lake Bennett, and then getting on the Yukon River to sail from Whitehorse to Dawson City, they could essentially just make their way east over to Atlin, saving themselves that huge fiasco of a trip. This thing is massive. So this was a very productive mining operation all throughout this area. And so this old hydroelectric powerhouse basically powered all of the mining ventures in the area up along Pine Creek. So I'm just heading a little further back from the powerhouse, and I've found what looks to be the caretaker's cabin. It's seen better days, that's for sure. It's always the roof. Without proper care and upkeep, these roofs always collapse and it ruins the entire structure. And you can see this roof at one point actually had the tin can roof. And I'm no expert here, but from what I've seen, any of the cabins that have had the tin roof on the top, it's stopped the weather from caving it in and essentially ruining the entire structure. comfy, bud? You gonna sleep here? Top concern for bears when starting the trail, but on the way back I always find myself just staring at the ground or not paying attention whatsoever, which is not the right thing to do. Don't do that. Scoping out a camp spot for tonight, and I can't say I loved that one, so we're gonna keep carrying on down the road.
Station's empty, trains are all gone. Beached in pocket, waited for dawn. Clock played drum, and I hummed a sack, and the wind whistled down.
You hear that? We're in the midst of a critical forced landing, and I'm ever so slowly gliding it back to the van. Thankfully, we're not that far away. Oh boy. This thing, I swear. Well, we secured the drone. I have no idea what happened there. Usually at around 20%, you'll start hearing that beeping because it's essentially just letting you know you need to land it or the battery's going to run out. But this time, it said critical landing in 10. It didn't give me a choice to bring it back on my own. It was just like, we're landing. You can slowly guide it back to where you are, but it's landing whether you like it or not. So I started flying the drone just to see how much further this road goes, because we've been out here for a couple hours, and the place we're trying to locate is way further than I thought it was. But yeah, I started flying it out that way, and it looks like there's a significant amount of road left. So I think we're done drone flying for now, and we're going to try and locate where this place actually is. I'm looking for Boulder Dam wreck site, and I know it's up this mountain tucked away a little bit, but we've been going for a little bit longer than I anticipated, and I found this nice little clearing here, and it's surrounded by mountains. Like, this is incredible. But yeah, I don't want to go too much further because it is getting late. I may have to set up Starlink and see exactly where we are, because the map is not necessarily showing me the location I want. Okay guys, well, I'm a little embarrassed here. I see now where I missed my turn. And yes, we kept going right. However, in my defense, I did want to explore the Atlin volcanic field in these surrounding mountains. So we'll go with that. But to get to Boulder Dam, that location that I wanted to check out, I was supposed to turn left. I know where that turn was too, but honestly, that's why I think having Starlink and having connection, or having the option to connect, is so important. So I'm glad we didn't keep going. And we're going to park here for tonight because I'm starving. And then tomorrow we're going back towards town anyways, so we're just going to make that little detour then. But honestly, would it really be an adventure without a couple mishaps? And I wouldn't even really call it a mishap, because you know what? I read somewhere that these roads were recommended 4x4 only, so honestly that's saying a lot, because I used to be quite a wuss when it came to these back roads. A couple small washouts and of course potholes, but other than that, it's pretty easy. Tried getting some groceries when I was in town earlier today, and even though the hours said it should be open, nobody was there, so it's going to be a YouTube and a bowl of cereal for dinner kind of night. So we're going to carry on tomorrow and get to our destination. Hopefully. That's the plan, at least.
Some roads don't simply exist on a map. They live in your mind, calling to you in your sleep.
It's a wet one today, but we got our coffee. We're gonna go for our morning coffee walk. Super quiet here last night. You can hear the river down in this little valley here. And what looks to be, well, definitely man-made roads, but manipulation of the rivers, kind of like what we're going to see today at the Boulder Dam, and how they use the water to manipulate it into creating power and you know, sluicing and any other mining ventures that they were doing today and back over 100 years ago. So it's pretty crazy what they'll do with the natural resources just to make things work more favorably. I'll tell you, as soon as August hit, it felt like every morning that bite, that tinge of cold in the air, that was just totally different feel. And you can, yeah, you can feel it. Winter's on its way, especially way up here in the far northwest corner of Canada. Get you in the house, nice and warm. No matter how hard you try to keep it clean in here, when it's a rainy day outside, it's just, there's no use. Such a small space, it gets pretty nasty pretty fast. So we're up here, this blue dot, and we went to the right side of the Cracker Creek Cone, it's called, so this side of the mountain, and we want to be over here at Boulder Dam, so on the left side of this mountain area. So just a slight detour, no big deal. Ended up being one of those roads where it's probably just as fast to just get out and walk. So that's what we're doing. We're off. We're just coming over this ledge and I can already start to see some of the old mining remnants here. I'll just chat with you guys for the next few kilometers, ward off any grizzly bears that may be in these thick bushes on the sides of the trail. Yeah, we'll be there in no time. Attaboy, bud. Woo. Oh, come on, bud. Keep going. Found some of these dark purplish blue berries. I think these are moss berries or crowberries. I'm not entirely sure. Not much of a taste. The miners here on Pine Creek adopted the use of hydraulic mining, which was originally used in the California gold rush in the mid-1800s. This tactic needed steady, reliable sources of water, where the gravity-fed stream could be controlled through pipes and hoses. These powerful jets of water could wash out entire hillsides through giant sluices, which was needed to access the pay dirt located up to 18 meters below the creek's boulder-strewn surface. Without the use of this method, gold recovery would have been far less productive. It is said that at its peak in 1902, the use of hydraulic mining brought in an additional $100,000 worth of gold. A little bit of water and he's got the zoomies. And there he goes. Well, it proved to be a lot harder to get up here than it should have been. But we made it. We had a pretty steady incline of a hike to get up here, which means smooth sailing all the way back to the van. We camped just outside of town by this little lake here. Super quiet. It's getting dark at night now, which is great. Don't really want to leave Atlin. This is probably one of the top places that we visited here in the north. I'm leaving here feeling like I saw more than I did last time, but I'm also leaving with a bigger list than I came here with. So we're just gonna have to come back. That's just the case with all of these northern towns. There's just so much to do. And I think for the future, the plan is to get across that giant lake, Atlin Lake, because I think the real adventure is over there in that provincial park. There's some incredible hiking and camping opportunities and a lot of old history. There's actually it's called the shortest railway. And when the gold rush was happening, when people diverted their plans to go east towards Atlin to seek gold here, they still had to sail across those crazy windy lakes, and then there was a tiny portage area from a little village called Taku to Scotia Bay, and it's only about 2 miles long, but they built a tramway system so people and all of their provisions and their gear would hop on this railway and then come across to Atlin Lake and then make their way across Atlin Lake in some pretty shoddy boats from what I understand, but it almost doesn't seem real, the stuff that people had to endure just to hopefully strike it rich. Just the chance of striking it rich. People were so desperate at that time to earn a living that they just endured so much hardship to hopefully find it. Thank you guys again so very much for being here with us and just watching these videos. We're gonna go pick up Alana tomorrow and we're gonna carry on the adventure, and pretty excited for this next one. So hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll see you next time.
Driving fast and taking chances.